Yeah, it does. Thanks, guys. So, John, let's start with you. I'm excited about the news business because I could find news in all different platforms, anytime, anywhere, any place, on any device. What are you excited about?
I think for journalists, it's the greatest time ever. I mean, you can tell stories in so many different ways now, and with everything from video to database journalism to interactives to social media pulled in. It's just a fabulous time to tell stories, and the audience is bigger than ever.
And what about you, Allie?
That I was nodding my head because it is more fun in my career now, 20 years in, than it. I would say my first year was as much fun because you could dig up interesting stories, you could tell them in quirky ways, you could determine how to tell a story for a different portion of your audience. And as I went further in my career, you had to stick to a relative template as to how you took that story and whether it meshed with the organization with which you work.
The news business is a goddamn calamity. I mean, the whole thing has collapsed. I mean, literally, the business has shrunk by almost 25% in less than 4 years. I can't think of a business that is now in the United States that is in worse shape. Actually, I think probably the airline business is a better business than the news business. And it's true. It's not that there are that people are not interested in the news, although they're interested in different ways. I mean, arguably the news audience has grown, but from a business standpoint, that's not the point. The point is advertisers are not interested in news.
I think that what's happening is the business model is absolutely changing. The business model is the thing that was calamitous. As we understand the new business models, and I think there's actually a very simple one if we can reduce this to its simplest extreme, which is in the olden days, we had one thing. We had the newspaper, or we had the magazine, or we had the broadcast TV or a cable TV channel. Now we've got money that comes from 10 or 12 different places. It's sort of like what Ali says. And we just have to be able to figure out what are the streams that will make us money and hope, and I believe that this is the case, that someday in the not too distant future, not this year, not next year, but within a few years, advertising will get really good and really smart and will help us monetize these 10 or 12 different streams so that those 10 or 12 different streams will someday be worth more than that one mother stream.
Okay, but there's no evidence that that's happening now. There is no success model. So all you're saying,
I'll give you one.
All you're saying is that you hope this is what's going to happen.
We're seeing really promising things. I mean, the websites kind of were crap, and then they started to get sort of interesting, and now they're sort of like a big publication. A CNN, for instance, makes an enormous amount of money from its website. I'm sure USA Today makes an enormous amount of money.
That is not true, however. If they make money because they have an old media to support this, an old media which is declining.
But while other people are not making money, we're making money hand over fist.
It seems, sorry, Michael, that you're talking about a historic contextual way of going to things, but there are people right now, especially, let's say, below 35, who really want to know the news, right? So what are you doing at USA Today that's helping them get their news and helping them connect to the news? And what are some ways, John, that USA Today is helping them stay in the USA Today comfort zone?
Well, there's so many young people who get their news from their social friends.
Right.
And we have to recognize that. We have to be in that spot. We have to be where they're spending a lot of their time. And that's why that's a good example of what we're trying to do. We also did a partnership around 9/11 where we built an interactive where you could go in and once you logged in via Facebook, you saw the 9/11 experience and how it mattered to you. Everyone around your age group or you in your hometown, where the steel ended up that might be near your residence. So that was another powerful way to bring the story back to people in the social sphere.
Great. Back to Josh. We're talking about design here. It seems like that's going to be part of the conversation moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's going to be much more important to journalism.
I think that tablets and smartphones are, I mean, you've got this gorgeous little slice of the future, and you add applications to it, whether they're native or HTML5 based later on, web apps, and that increases the functionality of this beautiful piece of design. How the applications are designed becomes of paramount importance too, because people don't have a lot of time and they want to look at pretty things.
All of this is true. I mean, we love. I mean, we grew up in the news business. We want to be in the news business. We have unimaginable tools with which to report news and deliver news. I mean, it is in many ways the absolute best of times. But the truth is that the real story in the news business now is that the forms of these businesses are changing. They're becoming much smaller. So, you know, fundamentally, you have the Washington Post, which has been $1 billion company, and Politico came along, took one of its central franchises, and Politico is a $20 million a year company. I mean, and that's what we have. So it's not that news is going away. News is not going away. But news as a product that could support these really, really big, profitable businesses is probably going away.
When you think about what supported newspapers when we were growing up, it was classified ads. And Craig Newmark, you know, the brilliance of Craig Newmark and the idiocy of the people who, you know, were counting the dollars of newspapers in America who didn't see this obvious thing happening.
You mean Craig from Craigslist?
Craig from Craigslist. Okay. Gutted that. That was a fantastic model because I'm really interested in the guy selling furniture down the block because I need it. The localness of it really paid for the newspaper, and it had a double effect because it also allowed the newspaper to be muckrakey and not worry about offending anybody.
But Josh, that model, that's gone.
But GPS and what that's going to deliver in the future, it's crap now, Michael, but it's going to be stupendous in another couple of years.
But it's not going to be dependent on a news source to do that. It's going to be dependent on pure technology. All we used to have, you were right.
We're talking about the business models of newspapers, and I'm arguing that newspapers are local. I mean, there are national newspapers, certainly, but the newspaper, because it's giving me information about my world, takes a certain part of my brain, right, and it engages
You're
it.
going to have but what you have is a disaggregated set of information in an a la carte world. They don't need that anymore. I mean, that's the fundamental problem here.
Well, let's talk about what happened today, the Yahoo merger with Good Morning America and ABC. What do you have to say about that? Why did that happen?
Yahoo's got two big problems. One is people don't go to it for search as much as they used to. And number two, it's got a business problem. It's got a business model problem. I expect Yahoo, when I go to that page, unlike Google, to have all this great information that it does, this video and this news. So to me, this is a deal that is unimportant to me as a user because Yahoo's got to do what Yahoo's got to do the same way Netflix has got to do what Netflix has got to do to have the movies that I want. Yahoo's got to have the news. To me, it feels a little bit like lipstick on the pig. Now, it's really nice lipstick from ABC, and it's a really big pig at Yahoo. So I'm not
sure. You mean that in the best possible way?
Yeah, I mean, I don't fault them for making that deal. But today, the world didn't need to know about Yahoo and ABC making an alignment or whatever they called it. They need to know about who's buying Yahoo and whether Yahoo's going to be a knucklehead again and not sell itself for 1/5 of what it once was offered.
Maybe let's go through the line. I'm going to ask it. Okay, I'm a college student. I want to be a journalist when I grow up. What would you advise me to do?
Talk to Michael Wolff. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I would advise a college student to be a journalist. In fact, quite the contrary. In my columns on an ongoing basis, I advise people to be accountants or software engineers. I don't have any such skills, so if I wanted to be a journalist, becoming a software engineer or an accountant wouldn't really be an option to me. But I definitely do not think it's a lucrative and altogether rewarding field, but for the fact that you really like uncovering stories and asking questions and interviewing people.
Michael?
I actually have a daughter who became a journalist, and she would call me every night. She says, "I hope you have a plan." I think it's actually it's a great business. It has nothing but an upside to it. It's a place that's that if you are of an entrepreneurial temperament, it's a great place to be. It cries out for for people who have good ideas, for leadership. You know, the news business used to be a very hierarchical business. It took you a long time to work your way up. That actually is not true anymore. So now the only issue is, do you have heart and imagination, and are you adaptable, and can you work the goddamn technology? And if that's true, I think I couldn't tell you what your career is going to look like a year or two, or God knows 5 years from now.
We know.
But I would say it will be an interesting ride, and more interesting than most.